Today on VolleyDons Weekly, head coach Ryan Rock-Parat and myself will talk about our two matches against Lindenwood and Quincy University last weekend on Arnie Ball Court. Then we'll bring in freshman middle blocker Richie Diedrich, and we'll talk a little bit about his experiences here in Fort Wayne and our season so far. Finally, we'll bring back the head coach and the star of the show, Ryan Rock-Parat, and we'll talk about our two upcoming matches against Lewis University on Saturday, senior night, and Loyola on Thursday. All that and more on VolleyDons Weekly. Come on back. Welcome everybody to VolleyDons Weekly. I'm your host and assistant coach, J.W. Kiekefer. With me, as always, we have the face of the franchise, head coach, Ryan Rock-Parat. And a quick thank you to our first group of sponsors, Alco, Active Ankle, ASICS, Glenbrook Dodge, and the Hyatt Place. Coach Parat, welcome back to the studio, the CTV studio with Fort Wayne Men's Volleyball. How are you doing?
I'm doing
this fine afternoon.
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Doing all right. I am doing okay. Doing okay. It was a little bit sad of a weekend after our two losses. I was hoping that we could come up with 2 wins there, but unfortunately not.
I'm trying to rest my voice because of all the yelling I did over the weekend, so I'm going to talk
softly.
Is
that what you're doing, all of the yelling?
I'm not going to get animated. I'm going to try and stay...
Do you get animated a lot?
Internally, yes. Never externally. That's a Canadian thing.
Internally, yeah. What does internal animation look like or feel like?
The feeling is like a volcano erupting. Or
slowly, or is it a very quick
eruption?
Earthquake
within inside of yourself because of this combustion that's going on. But the external part, you can never know. It's like playing poker. You never know. You never show your hand. There are those that are emotional people and those that are not. I'm not a very emotional or outwardly expressing person.
Well, after last weekend, we played Lindenwood on Friday night and Quincy on Saturday night. We lost to Lindenwood in 4 sets, lost to Quincy in 5 sets. However, our playoff run is still alive. Our chance at making the playoffs is still alive. We are tied now in a dead heat with Quincy University for 8th place in the conference, and the top 8 teams make the playoffs. So because we lost in 5 sets, we are tied in sets with Quincy because we beat them in 5 sets at their place. We are also tied in points because we beat them by 3 points total at their place. We lost to them by 3 points total this weekend at our place. So the last tiebreaker comes down to sets won and lost in conference. So now we're down to that tiebreak, and it all comes down to this weekend. So talk a little bit about those 2 matches and about the way our conference playoff look is shaking up right now. Or shaping up, not shaking up, but shaping up.
Well, there were 2 disappointing losses. Number 1, I don't think we've beaten Lindenwood in the last 2 years. I think they beat us.
No, we had last year we lost twice to Quincy and beat them once this year. Last year we beat Lindenwood once and we lost them twice this year.
I didn't think we beat Lindenwood last year.
No, we beat them at their place in 3 last year to make the playoffs.
Well, they were 2 disappointing losses because they were matches we had to have to completely solidify our postseason position. Friday night, we won the first set, and I thought we were on the right path to being successful throughout the course of the night, and then we did not step up to the challenge. We stopped doing the little things. I thought we made way too many unforced errors. We got away from our game plan in terms of being able to establish the middle of the court. I thought our distribution was poor. Our ball handling was not very good. I thought we touched balls. I thought we had transition point scoring opportunities. We got looks, but we were unable to capitalize on them. Subsequently losing in 4. I mean, we lost the next 3 sets after winning the first. And then Saturday against Quincy, who I knew would be a very tough matchup given the fact that they had a new coach in since the last time we had played. Maybe we got their coach fired. I mean, I don't know. Beating them there in 5 at their place. But, this was a seesaw affair. We lose the opening set.
We won the opening set.
We won the opening set. Then we literally flatlined the second set. We played a strong first set, and we literally flatlined and put it in cruise control in the second set.
I think that happened in both matches.
In both matches, it really did. And that was a very, very tough thing. And then in the third set, I decided to make a change at the setter spot because I thought Gabriel can give us at least a little spark at the position.
And he did just that in the third set.
He did do that. Played very well. I think we hit close to 400 that third set.
Yeah.
We ended up winning the third set to go up 2-1. Then the fourth set, we got sloppy. Errors, couldn't serve the ball aggressively. Jared Kelso, their all-conference middle attacker, just teed off against us. I think he finished with 20 kills in the match. We had no answer for him whatsoever. We made no adjustments whatsoever. At least we couldn't execute the ones that we discussed.
We were trying to make adjustments. We just couldn't execute the adjustment that we were trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, and then they took it to us in the fifth set. I mean, it wasn't really, I know the score is 15-12, I think, in the fifth, but it really wasn't close in the fifth set. They really commanded play.
Well, we set it out the first 7 points. I believe we were up 4-3. So I think we scored one real point in there to get that 4-3 lead, since I think we served to start that set off. And then their setter went back to serve, and he rattled off 6 points in a row to go up 10-4 on her. Yeah, it was 4-4 after their side out. He rattled off 6 to go up 10-4. And I think we talk about it a lot is kind of senior production. And ability for seniors to lead your volleyball team, and Quincy did that. Their setter is a senior, Thane Fanflick, and he played some good volleyball, or I believe he's a senior, I think. Maybe he's a junior. And Jared Kelso, a senior for them, played out of his mind. I mean, you could tell it was one of his last weekends, and his playoff was on the line. So.
Well, I don't know if Jared played out of his mind. I just didn't think we had the answer for him. I think he plays like that regularly when they pass the ball. But I don't think we made the right adjustments defensively against him. I also think that what you talk about is correct in regards to the upperclassmen level and getting production from upperclassmen. We did not, unfortunately, on the pen. Our best player on Saturday was Alex Dickman. He played tremendously well for us offensively, hitting over 300, I believe. But,
yeah, 340
but
something.
For us to be successful, the key, aside from serving and passing ball handling and stuff, is that we got to have a collective group of solid play. And we're not getting that. We're not getting balance offensively. We're not making plays when we need to make plays, and it's not a collective thing. And whether or not the being on the road for so long took a little bit of that out of us, our confidence, our mental approach, I mean, I really don't know. But those were two matches we should have easily won. Not easily won. Should have won. But we did not step up to make plays, and I was really, really disappointed with our overall effort in both of those matches. And that's a hard thing because, you know, you've been away for so long and you're at home. You asked me this last week. I get in trouble with the media because they say, well, you're home and it's great to be home. And I said, well, it's overrated because it's great to be home, but if you don't produce, then what good is it?
Yeah.
It doesn't build any confidence. It doesn't make the crowd exciting. You don't use them as to your advantage, and you don't intimidate your opponent. That's what's supposed to be being at home. You're supposed to win those matches at home, and it was just a really poor weekend for us. And I hope that we're able to bounce back because obviously the position that we're in statistically with Quincy,
you still have a chance.
The tie break, but they have McKendree and Ohio State, and they took a set off Ohio State the last time.
Yeah.
And then we have Loyola and Lewis here at home to finish. So.
Yep.
It's a tough one. We have no one to blame but ourselves, and we've put ourselves in our own position.
Well, some great starts and some poor finishes, unfortunately, for us this last weekend. Hopefully we can rectify that going up against Loyola and Lewis this coming weekend. And we'll have Richie Diedrich on the show right after this. Come back from the break.
I specialize in the ways that technology is impacting communication, relationships, and learning. One of my primary expertise areas is sexting and the impact of social media on sexuality and communication within romantic relationships. Working with students is my favorite part of this job, and I'm trying to equip them with the skills they need to be competitive candidates in the world, whatever world they're going to choose to pursue.
Welcome back, everybody, to VolleyDons Weekly. I'm your host, J.W. Kiekefer. With me now, we have freshman middle blocker Richie Diedrich. I'm pronouncing that correct, right?
Absolutely.
Diedrich? Look at that. See, I'm as good can be.
That's right.
How you doing, Richie?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How was practice? I had to miss it, unfortunately, today for a staff meeting.
It was good. Worked up a good sweat and played some volleyball. So what else could you ask for, you know?
You're here to play volleyball, huh? Having some fun.
That's right.
Richie is from Orlando, Florida. So he's gone through one of the most interesting winters of his life. I'm not sure if it's the most fun, but it's definitely been
interesting for sure.
What makes it interesting, huh?
Well, when I came on my visit, it was the first time I've seen snow, so that was different. And then
that was in last January, correct?
Yeah. And then it just it was snowy and cold and rainy and gray. It was different.
I think the worst part about it, and probably the biggest change from you being in Florida, is that it was a lot of like rain and like grayness, which is almost the most depressing than like snow. Like snow, at least when there's snow on the ground, it looks kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
When it's like rainy and cloudy, it's kind of gross. And I don't expect a lot of rainy and grossness to go on in Florida. And if it is, it's like 95 probably. So
yeah, 95. 5-10 minutes of rain and it's gone. Just kind of sat around for a couple weeks, but you got through it. And actually, it was nice to see the leaves change color and all that. So
yeah, you got to see a fall for the first time in your life probably.
So that was really nice.
That's awesome.
I like that a lot.
So seasons. The one thing about Fort Wayne that's different than Orlando is
all
seasons.
4 of them. It's crazy. It's crazy.
So Richie has growing up in Orlando, Florida, has some cool things about him. Scuba diver, and works for Disney as a scuba diver. So talk a little bit about that before we get into some volleyball stuff. How is that cool? Like, what do you do for Disney as being a scuba diver?
Well, I do a couple different things. I go in the morning and they kind of lay out the day. I'll either go in and scrub the coral for a couple hours. We help with fish feeds. We've got just about every animal you can think of underwater: dolphins, sharks, turtles, everything, all the fish. Yeah. So that's a really fun part of the day. And then when the night rolls around, we bring in groups of people and they go on the dive tour. And I'm a dive master, so I show them around the aquarium, do about a 40-minute dive, and then we call it a night.
That's an interesting day, and it's a pretty cool thing,
it's awesome.
Pretty special, and definitely a unique thing, especially for somebody now who's in Fort Wayne getting a transplant. It's a unique experience for a lot of people out here, but also I would think down in Florida, a lot of people don't do that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah. So it's a lot of fun, and it's at Disney, so I get to go into the parks just about every day, and I'm sure a lot of people would love to do that.
I think my mom asked me this question when she found out that you do the scuba diving in those tanks. Something along the lines of, do the sharks bite? Are you scared of the sharks?
The sharks do not bite. No, they're well fed, so they don't need to bite anybody.
So not scary at all. You just sit around with them,
not scary. They got some big teeth, but I think they just like showing those off. So they're not biting anybody.
So talk about the volleyball. When you came on your visit last year, you talked a little about how that's the first time you saw snow, but it's probably the first time you've seen, besides other visits you went on, that high level of volleyball.
Oh, yeah.
And we actually played Stanford that weekend and played them in a pretty close match. So that experience, along with the experience you've had this season, talk a little about the transition you've made from club to Division I and how difficult that might have been.
Definitely the hardest thing in my life. It was from, not playing volleyball to club volleyball to Division I volleyball. I came on my visit, and actually it was the first Division I visit I came on. And like you said, it was versus Stanford. And who was a setter at the time? James Shaw.
James Shaw, yeah, 6'7", freak. He's a freak. Touches probably like 11, 10, 12 feet. He's a freak.
And I always tell the story is they were warming up and he was setting balls, and I'm like, he's just another average setter. And then the coach said something, and he started, jumping and just like, just setting these crazy sets. And I'm like, wow, that's unreal.
Yeah.
And but I love the challenges and everything. So it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. And
being like a multi-sport athlete in high school, from quarterback in football, you played basketball in high school too as well, right? What made you choose volleyball? Why did you focus on volleyball a little bit as you got older into high school and into your senior year a little bit? What made you choose this sport?
Well, my sister played it a few years before I picked it up. And it was a fast sport, and I was like, oh, okay, it's just another sport to play. Yeah. Why not? Let's try it. And actually, I walked into the second day of tryouts and was like, let's give it a try. Tried it. That first day, I fell in love with it, and it was just the team aspect. It was you swung out of bounds, and there was somebody behind you, patting you on the back, like, don't worry about it, it's all right. Whereas football and basketball, every once in a while, you'd screw up, and it's like, what are you doing? Pushing you to the ground, and it was just a good atmosphere to be in the gym. It was an upbeat sport. At the time, at the high school, a lot of the kids that I knew were playing it. So it was just a lot of my buddies just having a good time playing a sport that they loved, and I ended up just falling in love with it.
What what things from basketball and football have you taken and brought into your volleyball environment? I know Coach Rock and I talk a lot about how kids are much less likely now to play multiple sports or 3 different sports, especially at a high level, the varsity level in high school. People are much more likely to kind of focus on one, especially if they're going to get into the Division I level. A lot of people focus on one sport to try to make that sport work. What maybe do you take from those other experiences you've had at a very high level of those other sports?
Definitely the competitive part of it. I see with volleyball sometimes, and as much as it kills me, I've kind of become acclimated to it, but just like the competitive part of it.
Yeah.
Some guys, it's like, you swing out of bounds and it's nice to be patted on the back, but at the same time, it's like, no, I just missed, let me go at it again, or let me, just do something else. And with football, it's like you make the wrong pass, or in basketball, you shoot the ball and you airball or something like that. It's like, it's not okay.
Yeah.
You go and do it again. So I think I've brought in that part of it to volleyball.
Yeah.
And tried my best to have everyone kind of have that edge to them, and but that's definitely the biggest thing that I've brought over.
And that's definitely an intangible thing, and I think that's one of the things that definitely is easiest to translate from sport to sport, right? Just the intangible way you go out and play the game. Basketball and football, with the physical contact you have in those sports, you can't survive if you don't have that competitive, like, one-on-one, like, I'm going to beat you one-on-one, I'm going to take you, whatever your best shot is, and give it back. I think that's something that a lot of volleyball players sometimes miss, and I think that's why it's really good, especially for volleyball players, to cross-train, to get that physical contact, to get that competitive drive, and like you said, it's not okay to make errors. But that competitiveness of the sport, it's different. Volleyball, without the physical contact, sometimes people can be a little bit softer and not always mentally in tune with that competitive drive. So it's definitely, it definitely shows with the way you play. I think it definitely shows in sometimes the way Pele plays too. He played a lot of volleyball growing up, but just that his competitive drive, and you two especially, that freshman class, is something that's really, really special, I think, and we're really excited to see it out of both of you guys. Talk a little bit about the IPFW and the Fort Wayne difference. Like, do you like Fort Wayne? Do you like IPFW? Do you like your decision you made, and what made you choose this school?
I went on a couple visits after IPFW, and just kind of realized that as much as I love the warm weather, the big city of Orlando. I mean, we were talking before, Fort Wayne isn't tiny by any means. But I came, and it's just that family feel to it. You come in, the team is just super close. I mean, I don't think there's one guy that's on his own. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I went on a couple other visits and just didn't feel that. And so far, I've loved Fort Wayne. Loved it. I mean, I'm super happy with my decision. I always pictured myself going to a big school, but when it came down to things, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be a number in the classroom, and Fort Wayne is the complete opposite of that. All the professors know your name. I live in the math tutoring area, and they know you as well, and that's been huge with academics coming in, and so and we're student athletes, so that's the biggest part of it. Grades come first, and they really help you out with that.
You get paid by the athletic department to play volleyball, but you're also getting paid to do a job, and that's go to school and be the best student you can be. And I think that's something that you've definitely proven throughout your career here the last year, is that you're going to take all of your effort and play as hard as you can in volleyball, but you've definitely understand that student aspect too, and go to class, and have definitely become a better student, I think, for the experience that you've had here. So that's something that we are really happy with you about, becoming a good student, getting great grades. So thank you for Richie for being here with us. Next, we'll bring back Coach Pratt. We'll talk about the matches this weekend. We'll see you after the break.
Building a caring and more compassionate world starts with our children. For more than 100 years, American Humane Association has been teaching kids to be kind to animals. Those in our homes, on the farms, on the silver screen, and wildlife conservation, caring for the world's vanishing creatures. But we can't do it alone. To learn ways to teach kids the values of caring, compassion, and hope, or to support the life-saving work of American Humane Association, visit our website, kindness100.org, or call the number on your screen. Together, we can make a more humane world for all of us.
Hi everybody and welcome back to VolleyDons Weekly. I'm your host JW Kiekefer. With me we have head coach Ryan Rock-Parat back in the studio. We'll talk to him about the upcoming matches against Loyola and Lewis, and a quick thank you to our sponsors, IAB Bank, Indiana Physical Therapy, Molten, ONE, and Pizza Hut. Coach Parat, I almost forgot who he played this weekend right there. I was very, very close to doing it, but I think I saved it.
Why did you introduce the third segment like you're introducing the show?
I don't know. I wonder why I did that. It's so confusing. Huh?
Somebody's lacking sleep.
That's probably part of it.
Maybe
probably part of it for sure.
Somebody was up late the other
watching
night,
the national championship game.
It was an unbelievable game between
it was.
Gonzaga and
But let's talk about
North
Richie
Carolina.
Dietrich.
Okay.
And what he's done for our volleyball team over the year he's been here so far as a freshman.
All right, what has he done?
I mean, you're the head coach. You tell me.
Well, Richie has a promising future. It's very interesting. I thought you would dive into it a little bit more. I thought you were going to be Chris Matthews and really dive into his football prowess, because it's very interesting to listen to talk to him about sports, as I find it with everybody when they talk about sports, because he's got a football background. He was a quarterback.
High-level football background at a very, very large Florida high school.
Yeah, and I was amazed that he chose volleyball over football, to be quite frank with you. Because when you come from the state of Florida, where football is king, you would think or have thought that football would have been his avenue of pursuit. And so listening to him talk, it's very interesting how he decided to pick volleyball with his sister's influence and family and so forth. So Richie started off the year unbelievably well. He had that unbelievable match against Penn State. He developed into this very nice volleyball player, a guy who has such a big offensive presence because he's quick off the floor. He's got a tremendous arm when he can stay behind the ball, and he's got this presence about him on the floor.
He's physical. He's a physical person.
Physical.
And he's a competitor. I think those two work.
Physical, yes, but not to the degree yet where we need him to be.
Yeah.
But
still a little raw, but definitely the physical part is there.
But I think what goes with physical is also dominant. And I think as his career continues to progress, because he's still got a lot to learn with his ball skills, how to think the game defensively at the net as a blocker, and also offensively, how to create his own opportunities to score. But he's coming a long way, and he's a great kid to coach. He's got a great attitude, comes to work every day. He's Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky, and I'm really, really happy that he's a part of our volleyball program.
We talked earlier in the year. We had Pele Pellegrin Vargas on the show. We talked about what a treat he is to coach in the gym. What a good kid he is. Really, just one of those kids who you want to have 15 of, 16 of. He's going to work his tail off. Going to put every day coming to the gym ready to play. Wants to be here. Wants to play volleyball. And I think Richie's the exact same way. It's rare to have two of those kids in the class in the same class that have that workman's like attitude, have a really, really high level that they can attain. And, they just go to work every single day. And before Pele got injured, he was that way. And Richie is the same way. He just comes to work, plays his tail off, doesn't complain, and gets the best out of it that he possibly can.
I think a lot of young people are like that because it's fresh, it's new, it's invigorating. You just wish everybody had that kind of mentality. I think sometimes the longer it goes, you kind of think to yourself as a junior or a senior, especially when things aren't going very well, oh my goodness gracious, this is so arduous, and oh my gosh, this is not fun or whatever. So it's different sometimes, the mentality when you're young and you're new to it and all the experiences of a Division I volleyball player. And I think for the most part, our group has that. And of course, our young kids, you mentioned Pellegrin. I think Matt Zeski from Wisconsin, a freshman as well. I think he's got that with Richie because it's this newness. It's like buying a brand new car and you sit in it. Ah, that stench.
Talk about the two matches we have coming up against Loyola first on Thursday, and then Lewis on Saturday.
Well, these are big matches for us for a lot of host of reasons, and I feel good about the Loyola match. I mean, we played really, really well in Chicago the first time we played them. In fact, we probably should have won the match, to be quite honest with you. We had the first set in hand up 22-18 and then collapsed. So we've traditionally played well against Loyola. They're our new rival, to be quite honest with you. It's not Ball State, it's Loyola. We get a lot of kids from there. We play well against them. And so I'm expecting a good volleyball match. Obviously, it's the same premise as usual. We got to serve and pass better. We got to negate Jeff Jendrick, who's going to be in the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo for the U.S. national team. So we got to negate him and hopefully put some pressure on them where they can feel it. The Lewis match, Lewis is going to be tough. They're 7th in the nation. I think their serving and ball skills are just tremendous. I think they're one of the few teams that can actually give Ohio State a run for their money in the postseason. And that match, to be honest with you, will take care of itself because it's senior night for us.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that after that.
And so I think a lot of guys will be so amped to play the Lewis match that I think the emotions will take over for that volleyball match.
In mentioning that it is senior night, talk about the 3 seniors we have on this volleyball team. Scott McNerney, who's a 5th-year senior, Nick Smalty, who's also a 5th-year senior, and then Gabriel Quinones, who's a 4th-year senior.
Well, Nick's gone through a lot. He had that injury a year ago that prohibited him from playing, and he's made a nice comeback. Had a tremendous match a few weeks ago in Phoenix, Arizona at Grand Canyon, and Nick has overcome so much, and he's a tremendous young man. He's got an unbelievable bright future. He's going to look to do a lot of service work with the church after he's done here. So he's gone to bigger and better things. Gabriel Quinones, smart as a whip. Probably could have graduated in 1 year. Doogie Howser-like, he came in with so many credit hours. Just a smart
came in as a junior, definitely could have done it in 2 years.
Oh, tremendous. Smart kid, great team player. Would do anything to ask, never complains.
That kid would do anything to win, too. He is a competitor.
He's got a part of his DNA, being Puerto Rican. And then, of course, Scott McNerney, great family, 2nd generation behind Dan McNerney, who played here back in the mid-2000s, part of our Final Four team. In 06 and 07, and I can't say enough about Scott, an ultimate team player himself. Used more in a role-like situation coming off the bench as a serving sub and a defensive specialist, but Scott has done an unbelievable job here. His 5 years here, because I think he redshirted a year.
Him and Nick both did for a year, yeah.
And he's going to be a tremendous loss. Just his personality, his vibrance, his vitality to come in on a daily basis and work with our guys and really push ourselves to another level. Great leadership, I think, from Scott. That'll be missed. But it's going to be a great Saturday. We're going to do a luncheon during the day, and then obviously the match at night where hopefully we can pull off a nice victory against Lewis here at home.
It should be a fantastic weekend with Loyola University coming in here at 7 p.m. On Arnie Ball Court on Thursday, and then on Saturday we have Lewis University coming in for senior night. So make sure you make your way out to the Gates Sports Center on Arnie Ball Court. Thank you all for tuning in to VolleyDons Weekly, and we'll see you all soon.